We live in a world of constant change. Perhaps true planning lies not in predicting every step of the journey, but in cultivating the ability to recalibrate your course without losing sight of our destination. After all, taking remote control of one's life means continuing to move forward, even when the path ahead is not yet fully visible. In times of high uncertainty, planning ceases to be a well-crafted document and becomes a capability. It's not about getting everything right, but about creating enough clarity to take the next step. In the end, those who thrive are not the ones who have all the answers. They are the ones who learn to make decisions in the face of uncertainty. Hello, members of the Remote Command Hub. We have a slightly different episode today. Usually, the Remote Command Hub hosts guests for conversations on leadership, decision-making, human factors, and international experience. But between interviews, I thought, what if the guests today were science itself? In our episode today, we have the Leadership Lab number 1, and we will explore applied concepts of interculturality based on research in neuroscience, anthropology, and international relations to understand why some people can navigate completely different cultures while others face enormous difficulties. Let's analyze the following context. Imagine a leader who masters the art of relational collaboration. For he or she, trust is the fuel for any project. Alliances are built through interpersonal exchange, informal dialogue, and constant reading of the environment. He or she takes on a new challenge and must coordinate a heterogeneous group. In the first meeting, this leader opens the space with his or her usual strategy. He or she seeks to create empathy, bets on openness, and tries to establish an informal connection to align the team. The result, however, is unexpected. Part of the group responds by focusing primarily on procedures, documented evidence, and established guidelines. Another part of the group, although appearing to readily agree with all suggestions, ends up following distinct paths in execution, maintaining an extremely reserved posture. By the end of the week, the leader feels he or she has lost control. The chemistry he or she expected did not emerge, and the deliverables are misaligned. What he or she did not realize is that the conflict was not between people, but between operating systems. On one side, there is a system focused on high interaction personal flows. On the other, systems focused on rigid evidence protocols and indirect communication systems. The leader's error was believing that his or her method of connecting was universal. He or she did not understand that what was considered as transparency was interpreted by the team as lack of professionalism, and what was considered as lack of engagement was in fact just a distinct way of seeking safety and clarity. The problem was not the team. The problem was that the leadership's mental software had not yet installed the necessary interfaces to decode other work systems. Let's think now. How do neuroscience, anthropology, and international relations explain this? Number 1. Neuroscience. Brain plasticity and the cognitive cost of ignoring familiarity biases. Science shows us that our brain is, by nature, an energy-efficient organ. It constantly seeks to save energy through automatic processes. That's what we call heuristics or mental shortcuts. When we operate within a familiar environment, our brain uses pre-established mental models. It is as if we were running software we already know by heart. However, when we encounter a different work system or culture, the autopilot fails. This is where neuroplasticity and cognitive costs come in. When trying to ignore the familiarity bias, our natural tendency to believe that our way is the right way, the brain is forced out of energy-saving mode. It needs to recruit areas of the prefrontal cortex to perform a high-demand task, conflict monitoring and inhibition of behavioral impulses. Ignoring this bias is costly because it requires an active reconfiguration of our attention. It is not that we are incapable of adapting, but that biologically adapting requires a conscious effort to break the neural pathways that lead us to judge others' behavior by our own standard. True cultural intelligence, therefore, is the ability to manage this cognitive cost, transforming the mental discomfort of change into an opportunity for learning and expanding our own cerebral architecture. Number 2. Anthropology. Cultural systems theory, high context versus low context. If neuroscience explains the biological effort of adaptation, anthropology provides the map to understand the terrain where we are. Edward Hall, one of the pioneers of cultural anthropology, offers us one of the most powerful lenses for leadership: the distinction between high context and low context cultures. Imagine communication as an iceberg. In low context cultures, most of the information is above the waterline. It is explicit, direct, verbalized, and detailed in manuals or contracts. What is said is literally what must be understood. Clarity is the absolute priority. In high context cultures, most of the message is submerged. Communication depends intensely on the environment, the history of relationships, hierarchy, body language, and even what is not said. Here, meaning is in the context, not just in the words. The conflict we saw in the story at the beginning of this episode occurs when a leader who naturally communicates through implicit cues and shared understanding, high context, leads a team that expects explicit communication and direct instructions, low context. The leader assumes that the message is understood without saying everything, while the team looks for clear guidance, detailed expectations, and direct answers. As a result, the leader may perceive the team as lacking initiative, while the team may see the leader as vague, ambiguous, or unclear. It is not anyone being difficult or disorganized, it is about different encoding systems. Learning to read environments, therefore, is recognizing where most of the information is being transmitted, whether in the words or in the silence between them. Number 3. International relations, constructivism. In international relations, we have a lens called constructivism. It teaches us that the world is not composed only of material facts, but of meanings we construct. When our leader enters the field, he or she is not just interacting with people, he or she is trying to navigate a system of meanings that has not been decoded yet. The conflict can happen when, for example, a leader believes a handshake means trust, but for his or her interlocutor's system, trust will be built through rigorous adherence to protocol. Constructivism holds that anarchy or any work structure has no inherent meaning. People's behavior has clear meaning within their belief system. Alexander Wendt, one of the leading constructivist theorists, argues that interest is derived from identity. If your leader identifies as an agent of personal connection, his or her interest will be to create bonds. If the team identifies as guardians of processes norms, their interest will be technical precision. The clash occurs because work identities are not aligned. They are not playing the same game because the game is defined by culture, in this case organizational culture or professional background. In terms of international legal standards, compliance is often anchored in the principle of legality, which aligns more closely with hard law than with soft law. The conflict in the narrative of this episode arises because the leader functions like soft law, relying on relational trust and informal cooperation. Conversely, the team operates like hard law, prioritizing codified rules, documentation, and strict adherence to established legal norms. So, what conclusions can we draw from today's session at the Leadership Lab? Understanding culture is, therefore, an exercise in reading meanings, not an attempt to impose your own logic on others. Success does not depend on knowing all the rules of etiquette, but on the ability to observe the pattern before acting. Some actions could be recommended to achieve this mapping. Number 1. Before an intercultural meeting, spend 15 minutes mapping the expected communication style, direct versus indirect. Number 2. Note a moment in the week when something did not make sense. Instead of judging the other as wrong, ask, what implicit rule am I not seeing? Number 3. Here I usually do it this way. Does this make sense for our flow, or should I adjust my process? Cultural intelligence is the ability to read the environment before setting the pace. I hope you enjoyed our Leadership Lab today. See you on our next episode.